What is the application journey like for an MBA in the US when you are putting up your applications as an international applicant? First of all, be very clear that you will probably be managing multiple applications for round one. That is the time when it is a clean slate and you can really have that edge if you have a strong story to tell. So, managing multiple applications requires a lot of planning, and you should have a very clear list of what each program is looking for. Now once you have your school list and you have written down what the programs are looking for, come down to how to execute them. So what is a very clear execution plan that you will require? It will have five aspects. One is research and prioritization. Second is make a timeline and break down the tasks. Third is manage all the essays. You have to manage the recommendations. And fifth is there are many other application components which you have to look into well in advance as well. So let's take up these one by one. When we say research and prioritization, I want you to create a master list where you categorize your schools into reach, target, and safe schools. Have at least 5 or 7 schools that you are applying to in R1. And based on your profile, find out what the admission criteria are and which schools match your goals, and build your list of reach, target, and safety schools. Once you have that master list in place, then look at the past year deadlines. That is a very good benchmark for you to plan backwards, and you have to set realistic expectations as to what your work responsibilities are like, and how you will apply to 5 or 7 schools. So then now is the time to break down your programs into what schools you will apply to in R1 and what schools you will apply to in R2. You will probably not be able to manage all of them, but put in a deep thought and plan your schools accordingly. Break up your schools reach, target, and safety into R1 and R2 so that you can manage all the expectations for the applications that each of the schools have. Applying to MBA programs in USA is actually going to be more tedious than applying to the Indian applications because of the multiple aspects which are covered in the application. Next is make your master calendar. Take down the application deadlines from the previous years. Now you have your master list, you have your schools for R1 and R2 set out. Once you have done that, take out the application deadlines from the previous year and then go backwards into planning when you are taking the test. So whether you are writing the GMAT or the GRE, just go backwards and keep in at least 45 to 60 days, before the deadline when you have already written your test. Now, there would be early decision deadlines as well as the regular round one deadlines. It will be stressful to manage all the applications together. For your within reach schools, you can probably apply to the early decision deadlines. And for the others, look at the regular decision deadlines. For your dream schools, apply to the early application deadlines. And for the rest of them, have the regular decision deadlines. So build your plan going backwards, where you will have time to work on your application, the resume, the essays, optional essays, the recommendation letters, and the application form itself. Go backwards and put in a sort of a timeline so that you have your applications ready at least 7 to 10 days in advance. There is also another very important aspect of international MBA applications, especially MBA programs in the US, where you will have to submit a video essay as well. It could be a pre-recorded video essay, a recording on the spot. It could be a Kira interview where the question comes on the spot. There might be a series of questions that you would have to address. So plan for those. Don't keep your video essays till the last moment. You should also make a note of the video essays and the submissions which are required on that front so that you can plan for that and prepare for that as well. The third most important aspect of managing multiple applications is managing your essays. Look at the prompts carefully and pick up the prompts from the previous years. Create your story bank, create your master resume, so that even before essays, it is recommended that you should work on your resume. A resume for an MBA in USA is going to be mostly the first thing that the school looks at. So you must have your resume in place. Work on the resume before you start with the essays, so that this will serve two purposes. One is that you will get ample time to revise and review your resume. Second is that you will know what you have written in your resume, and you probably do not have to repeat it in the essays. Work on your resume first and then come to the essays. List down all the essay prompts, list down the short answer questions which are required, and create your outlines, brainstorm the points that you want to put together in terms of what essay prompt, what stories are important, build a repository of your stories, and then start dividing it across the essay questions that the school has provided. This includes the main essays as well as the short answer questions. Another thing which is mostly taken up in the last moment is the recommendation letter. Don't keep your recommendations towards the end. Start your recommendations almost the time that you are starting to work on your resumes. First, finalize how many recommendations each school requires. If you're applying to 5 or 7 schools, there might be schools which require just one recommendation letter. There might be schools which require two recommendation letters, and there might be an optional letter as well which will be allowed by a few schools. If whether you want to use the optional recommendation or not, and then make a list of who your recommenders can be. Talk to them, who would be willing to spend the time to give you the recommendation letter. Select the people from a professional background. Don't go for academic recommendation letters for your MBA applications in the US. Go for professional recommendations, and speak to your recommenders well in advance. Initiate the recommendations well in advance so that they have ample time to work on the recommendations. Follow up with them whether they have received the invites from the schools, they have received the intimation as to what is expected out of them. Give them a copy of your essays and your resume so that they also have insight into your aspirations. So if you have your essays ready or you're working on your essays, briefly outline to them what your aspirations are, why you are choosing a particular school, and how it fits into your scheme of career growth. So this will really help them prepare a good recommendation for you. This is something which is ignored, and people run in with the recommendations requests at the last moment, and then they have to change the recommenders just because they are not available and you had not informed them on time. So don't get into that situation. If you're applying to multiple programs in USA, then you must plan for the recommendations also well in advance along with your essays. When you're applying to an MBA in the USA, and especially to multiple programs, there are multiple application components that you have to take care of. What would those be? Resume is something that we have already spoken about. This is the time when you should actually have a final resume ready. You need to look at, once you have written the GMAT or the GRE, you might plan a take of the GMAT or GRE. Plus, the GMAT and GRE submission codes. A very small point, but overlooked. A lot of times people realize that they have sent out their scores to the wrong program or to the wrong school. It will look similar, and you've sent it to an MS program instead of the MBA program, or instead of the full-time program, you've sent it to the executive MBA program. So make sure that your master list contains your test score codes, reporting codes as well, and you are done with your test well in time. So if you want to take a retake, you will have that opportunity. The last thing that you need to take care of in terms of the application components is the optional essays. So if there are any weaknesses or any additional information that you want to state, use the optional essays. When you're planning your essays, list out the scholarship essays that are also required. So as an international applicant, you will most likely be applying to scholarships. So if you're applying for scholarships, identify what scholarships you are eligible for and list out the scholarship essay topics also. While you're working on your main essays, work on the scholarship or the fellowship program essays also simultaneously. Don't keep it till the last moment. Just before submission, you decide apply to the scholarship and you start penning down an essay. That's not the best time, and that's not going to add to the strength of your application.